I mean, let's be honest. This is the worst it can get. I've been watching the Public Accounts Committee, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I always try to watch the Public Accounts Committee of Ghana just so I can have an idea of what goes on at the ministries and at the state departments when it comes to money expenditure. Every year, ladies and gentlemen, we get blown out with exposés of how state budgets are abused, misused, overused at the expense of taxpayers every year. And this year's hasn't been any different, ladies and gentlemen. And next year will be the same. You see, the Public Accounts Committee's work is driven by the Auditor General's report. So the PAC's job is to scrutinize the Auditor General's report. And by the law, this report is supposed to be submitted to Parliament within 6 months after the end of the preceding financial year, which actually means, ladies and gentlemen, that the financial year ends on December 31st. The report should be submitted to Parliament by June 30th of the following month. This in itself, ladies and gentlemen, is a problem. And this is what I mean in simple terms. You give money to someone to work on your behalf. Just pay attention to this. You give money to someone to work on your behalf. You leave the person the whole year to do whatever he wants to do with the money. And you only come back at the end of the year to have the person render an account. If you really cared about your money and wanted to make sure wastages are limited and things are not blown out of proportion, why don't you check on the person in, say, every 3 months, ladies and gentlemen? If you really want to avoid this kind of problem, ladies and gentlemen, knowing very well that every year they squander money, why don't you do your checks and balances every 3 months, ladies and gentlemen? You wait the whole year, knowing very well what can potentially happen before you do this exercise. Sorry, I really don't understand you.